Early primary voting for Georgia's next governor begins on Monday. Current Republican Governor Brian Kemp and former Senator David Perdue faced off in their second debate last night, which was hosted by CBS affiliate WTOC. Former President Donald Trump has endorsed Perdue. So Adam Brewster has been following all of this and is here to discuss. Good to see you in the flesh and blood. I don't know if you've been on other shows, but you're here with me now, and I like that.
I'm here
now. So let us talk about the major issues that the candidates focused on.
So we, again, saw a lot of talk about the 2020 election. It felt like the bulk of the first half of the debate could have taken place on November 7th, 2020, for example. And, you know, David Perdue has staked out a lot of his campaign on sort of this false claim that the 2020 election was stolen and rigged. He came right out of the gate and said that and sort of went after Brian Kemp, saying he didn't do enough to try to prevent this or do enough after the election to try to help former President Trump. You know, Brian Kemp pushed back again, saying, hey, after the election, I was disappointed. We passed a law that sort of changed the state's voting laws. What were you doing after the election to try to make changes? There was also talk about economic issues, including a Rivian plant that Brian Kemp brought to Georgia, and that sort of caused some issues in the community, and David Perdue has raised some questions about that. Also talk about crime, but sort of that 2020 election issue loomed over it all, and we saw tensions sort of boil over between the two, with them trading some insults. David Perdue saying getting Trump to endorse you was the worst mistake I ever made, and you know, Brian Kemp saying you can only look backwards, you can't look forwards. That's why you're not fit to beat Stacey Abrams.
Very interesting. All right, so early voting does start on Monday. You talked about some tweaks to elections. How are things shaping up for the two candidates as people start to cast their ballots?
Right, there were a couple of polls that came out this week that showed Brian Kemp in a really strong position, not just leading David Perdue, but leading David Perdue and potentially avoiding a runoff, right? We all remember that in Georgia, you have to hit 50% +1 in order to win your primary without having to go on to a runoff election. That's why David Perdue ended up losing his race to Jon Ossoff in November or January 2021. And, you know, part of the reason is there's a lot of people in Georgia, a lot of Republicans who like the direction of the state of Georgia, like the job that Brian Kemp has done as governor. Certainly, there are many Trump supporters who do not like what he did after the 2020 election. But, you know, Kemp has focused last night in this debate and in recent weeks on the campaign trail of touting his conservative accomplishments as governor. You know, whether it's on guns, on abortion, on cutting taxes, that is what he wants to be out there talking about and what he's been promoting to voters as he tries to close this race down in the final few weeks.
So let's play some sound from last night's debate.
I worked hard for President Trump. I worked hard for both our United States senators and our whole Republican ticket up and down the ballot in the middle of a global pandemic, I might add. But you know, when we didn't win, I was as frustrated as anyone else. And we passed the strongest election integrity act in the country.
Blah, blah, blah. My goodness. I mean, it's more of the same. The truth is, he violated his oath of office by not calling a special session when he saw the consent decree going down.
You see, David wants to go back and talk about the past because he doesn't have a record to win the future.
The worst mistake I ever made was getting Donald Trump's endorsement for this man back in 2020. He'd have never been elected without that.
Sorry, I giggled a little bit.
These are guys who they liked each other, you know, before a couple of years ago.
It's entertaining. You said about how, you know, 2020 sort of loomed large. You can't talk 2020 without talking about Donald Trump. Clearly they did. Was he also looming large?
Yeah, he certainly looms over this entire race, right? He's kind of the reason that David Perdue is even challenging Brian Kemp and why he's facing a primary challenge to begin with. But again, Brian Kemp is out there telling voters, if you like the job I've done as governor, if you like what I've done on guns, on abortion, on economic issues, then give me another term. I put us in the best position to beat Stacey Abrams. I'm someone who is looking forward. You know, and David Perdue said, hey, you know, Donald Trump's not going to back this guy in November. That could hurt him with conservative voters against Stacey Abrams. So they are both kind of trying to play into that sort of angle.
It's going to be an interesting race to watch. Adam, thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.